Welcome to another Mind Mat video. I am Jan, a counsellor and a yoga therapist, and today we're going to have another chat off the mat. I'm in my private practice today with a little space in between seeing clients, and I really wanted to talk to you about relationship breakdown. So in my line of work as a relationship therapist, I see a lot of relationship breakdown and various types, and it's incredibly painful to go through for some people. That is without a shadow of a doubt, because it can be very complex. Whether you're dating and you split up, or whether you've been married or cohabiting, or you may even have a family together, the actual point of knowing that the split may happen, or it could come out of the blue that you have no idea whatsoever that this relationship is going to come to an end, and you're faced with someone telling you that that is where you're at. And all of this will throw you not only mentally but physically into a state which is really unpleasant to be in, because there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of unknown, could potentially be real heartbreak and worry about the future, and it means change, doesn't it? And in all its different formats, whether it's a change of house, a change of school for your children, whether it's a change of your financial security, whether it's a change just from being a couple to being on your own, it really can be a very disturbing place to find yourself. So there's a few things that I would work with my clients. Now, I know that breakups, they can be very, very different in the way that one does break up. But there's one thing that's common for all of this, is that we can end up with our nervous system playing havoc. So we don't eat properly, we don't sleep properly. Our thinking becomes really difficult, in the fact that some would call it overthinking, but it really is just reaching out to all the possibilities of trying to work out what next, or what happened, or what we need to do. So we have a lot of activity in our brain, and that causes a lot of restlessness. And this is probably throwing us into our sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight flight, potentially upset tummies, as I said, not sleeping, agitation, really not quite feeling oneself, and certainly not feeling grounded. So I invite my clients to start to adopt some self-care, and that means thinking about how they move forward from this position of imminent relationship breakdown, or it's broken down, because we need to really, really look after ourselves when we find ourselves in that place, because that can go out the window. So thinking about, even if you don't have a great appetite, which is often the case when you're in fight flight, how can you get some good nutrition in when you fancy it? That's really important. The sleep aspect of that, firstly, try not to activate your brain in a negative way before your bedtime. So not getting onto social media, not tracking down things, not going through reams and reams of text messages or Facebook messages or anything like that is really important, because if you're stimulating your brain into that place, you're reading the dialogue around something, you're going to continue that into the bedroom and possibly not be able to sleep. So have a cut-off point of self-care where you decide, I'm not looking at anything post this time. It's also really important to prepare for bedtime, so making sure that your environment is healthy, that you don't have any distractions in it, that you have a comfortable bedroom, comfortable temperature, and that you prepare yourself for bed. So you get yourself comfy. Maybe that means a warm bath, maybe that means a little bit of nighttime yoga, really helpful there. So preparing yourself, good self-care. The other thing is exercise. Now, exercise produces good chemicals. It gives us a little bit of a feel-good factor, and we might not feel like that at all, because we might feel pretty exhausted, or we just can't be bothered. But even if you walk, it is helpful. And if you don't feel like going outside, then get on the yoga mat, follow a few yoga videos, because the time that you are on that mat, Your nervous system has to start to disengage from the sympathetic one, which is the one that gives you the restlessness, and it has to start to engage with the parasympathetic one, which is called rest and digest, because you have to think about your breathing on the mat. You have to think about where you put your limbs, your digits on the mat, and all that requires you moving from one wiring to another. Now, you may only find that you get a little bit of a respite or a break while you're on your mat or while you're walking. And if you're going to go out for a walk, don't go out for a walk taking all the dialogue about the emails or the messages or what's happened or going back over the past. If you need to, listen to some music, preferably not stuff that triggers you into being sad. So listen to something upbeat, or listen to some meditative music, or pop on a podcast that, is not related to relationship breakdowns, etc., but something completely different. Because this self-care is about giving yourself a break from the very painful aspects. The other thing I would say is if you're going through a relationship breakdown with a tricky character, and I will be doing some work to provide some information about dating or being in relationships with tricky characters. That includes the personality disorders, sociopathy and psychopathy. So those characters can be very, very difficult to be in a relationship with, and they can be very, very difficult to end a relationship with, but also they can be very difficult when they end a relationship. So if you have felt disempowered, you think you're going crazy, you've had your self-esteem robbed from you, you're told everything is your fault, you don't have any control over the finances, you don't have any information that you should need about what you need to know about maybe your property deeds or your bank accounts or anything like that, then I would suggest you reach out to a professional to get some professional help and support. Because actually relationship breakdowns when you're in a relationship or coming out of a relationship with a very tricky, complex character can be a very difficult place to find yourself. So if you think that's relevant to you, then do reach out for some help. In the UK, you can look up on the directory, the counsellingdirectory.org, to try and find a relationship therapist with knowledge around what I would call toxic relationships or relationships where there's coercive control. You could go on to the BACP website, so the British Association for Counselling Psychotherapists, that I'm accredited with, because they will give you a range of therapy options there to find a therapist. And there's the British Psychological Society as well. So there are options where you can find the right person for your needs. But maybe you don't need that. I hope you don't. And so it's about this really positive self-care. And if you've been through a relationship breakdown in the past, you know you'll go through certain phases. And sometimes you think you'll never get over it. And then you look back and you're like, okay, well I did, and I'm okay. And you've possibly fallen in love again since then. So what I would say is look forward, self-care, get the support and help that you need, and know that if you put the self-care in place, if you care about yourself enough, you love yourself enough, you follow some of the little tips that I've given you here, it could be a painful journey. It might be a long journey. If you're going through a divorce, they can be very long, or a separation, but you will eventually be out the other side. So I better get back to getting my notes out and ready for the next clients of the day. So do check out the video, which will come up on YouTube, for yoga for relationship breakdown. Get yourself onto the mat, help your nervous system. And if you can practice that, try and practice it daily so that you get a little bit of out of the wiring that's the disturbing one and into the wiring that's a little bit easier to be in. And as I said, if you need extra help, do reach out, and I will put some links at the end of this video. So until I see you again, yes, so goodbye from my therapy room and janslatercounselling.co.uk, and hopefully I'll see you for a mind mat yoga video on YouTube. Take care.